Hi, I'm Barry and welcome to Power Equipment Discounters. Today we are going to be reviewing Husqvarna's new TS342 ride-on lawnmower. So this is Husqvarna's brand new TS342. It's replacing the TS342 TDRF ride-on lawnmower. There has been a lot of changes made to this model and we're going to run through some of those changes today. The first thing you will notice about the machine is of course the color of the deck. It's now gone to a grey deck. It's the most noticeable change visually. The deck is a 42-inch fabricated cutting deck and it's nothing like the old fabricated cutting deck. For those of you that are interested, if you have a look at reviews online on the TS342, you'll notice that the performance of that cutting deck was not very good, particularly in long or wet grass. Husqvarna has totally redesigned that cutting deck as a result of the feedback, and they've produced a very simple but very heavy duty fabricated cutting deck. What they've done is they've removed all the baffles from the cutting deck. They've gone back to a 2-blade system rather than a 3-blade system, which makes it a much more efficient cutting deck. It's much better in wet grass and in long, tall or thick grass. So this fabricated cutting deck is a cutting deck which will cut your grass guaranteed, whether it's wet or long, which is a big improvement. Another big change they've made is underneath the bonnet. They've changed the engine. They used to run a Briggs & Stratton Husqvarna Endurance engine, which was an Intech model with a cast iron sleeve. What they've done now is they've moved to a Vanguard engine. This is a much better motor. It is built in Japan by Briggs & Stratton. It's a 21 horsepower V-twin and it has some really cool features. It's Briggs & Stratton's top of the range engine and its quality is unsurpassed. For those of you that are familiar with the Kawasaki commercial engines, this engine stands up to those as well. The engine has a 3-year commercial warranty worldwide. Of course, on this machine with Husqvarna, it has a 5-year warranty offered by Husqvarna. If we have a look at the engine, just a few small features to note. The first thing you'll note is the metal air filter covers over here. And if you have a look at the air filter, it's a very heavy duty air filter, heavy duty foam, heavy duty paper. Done on a wing nut there, nice and tight. So you always get a really good seal, and I love the metal casing. It's much better than plastic, much more heat resistant as well. The other great feature about this motor is on this side over here. It's got an oil cooler on this motor. So the engine is air cooled, but the oil is also air cooled as well. It's got a separate oil cooler, which is very good to do. So it makes sure that the oil in the machine is always kept at the right temperature, nice and cool. And it's a full pressure fed engine with an oil filter over there. Obviously it's cast iron sleeve as well on the Vanguards. It's a beautiful sounding motor. It's nice and quiet and it's got that V-twin power on it. So top of the range motor, very, very good quality. As I said, built in Japan by Vanguard. Okay, moving to the other changes on this machine. They've done away with that tight turning radius of 20 centimeters. We're back down to the usual 40, which I prefer. Cast iron front end as well, and adjustable steering rods. So we can now adjust, whereas before we had a fixed steering rod on the Husqvarnas, we've got adjustable steering rods on this model as well. A big improvement on the old model. So that's definitely an improvement over there. Still has a very tight turning circle as well, which is good. Cosmetically, moving up to the dash, they've made a few changes over here. So you'll notice the new gauges, very smart looking. They've gone to the white gauge. On the right hand side, you've got an hour meter. That is a service maintenance minder as well. So it will tell you every 50 hours to change the oil. And on the left hand side, you've got an ammeter. The beauty about that is it just tells you that your battery is charging at all times, which is good. Still has electric blading gauge on that switch over there, electric PDO. You'll notice on this model that it is not the smart switch, so it's not the push button start, it's a key start, so it's back to the old ignition. The reason for that is because all Vanguards have a manual choke operated on the left hand side. So the choke, this is not a ready start engine, it has a manual choke. So you can choke the engine to start it, and that's why you have a key start. Cruise control, still a current feature on the models. They've changed the pedal setup as well, like on all the new Husqvarnas. They've gone for a much wider reverse pedal, and the reverse pedal is much higher. So that gives you much more travel in reverse. So you'll find that you get full speed in reverse rather than some of the older models where if you push the reverse pedal down, it would bottom out on the floor pan. They've now changed that over there and they've got that reverse feature. This model comes standard with armrests, which was not a standard feature on the last 2242. So they've gone for an armrest feature, which is nice on the machine. It's just a good touch to have. Still have the reserve fuel tank under the seat, so you've got your primary and reserve fuel tank over there, and the filler cap over here on the left hand side. Nice wide opening to get your fuel into it as well. This model has your height adjuster on the left hand side as per the other model as well, and it has the same gearbox, which is the Tough Torque KR46CR with a diff lock. So that's got the diff lock. Obviously on the TS series, on the fabricated decks, you got the nice wide rear wheels as well for that extra bit of grip. So great for hill climbing with the diff lock over there. It is an automatic diff lock as per all the older models as well. So that'll lock both rear wheels if you get any slippage up a slope, but it's not permanently engaged, so you still get that really tight turn if you're doing tight turning circles on the flat. So it's the best of both worlds. Seat's still adjustable on the right hand side, forward and backwards. Very easy over there. Okay, so let's look at one of the biggest changes they've made in details. Let's look at a fabricated cutting deck. So I'm going to take this deck off now. To take off the deck, it's really simple. There's 2 split pins on either side to release it, and then you take the cutting belt off and we'll slide it out. So I've taken the 2 split pins off. We'll just remove the front sway bar. Right, so looking at the new cutting deck, you'll notice with all the fabricated cutting decks, they've got that leading front edge, which has been reinforced over there. It's a very simple setup on the 42, which is something I really like about the new design. There's 2 big steel idler pulleys on bearings on either side, greasable mandrel housings, one there and one on the other side. So that tells me straight away there's only 2 blades on this deck. They've got a tensioning spring over here, which is running onto the tensioning pulley. So this is your tensioning pulley here, this middle one. And the great thing I like is that goes back to your engine, the belt over here. The great thing I like about this system is you can actually tension your cutting belt. That is not a feature which is available on many ride-ons. So to have an adjustable tension on your cutting belt means even as your cutting belt stretches over time and wears, you don't need to go to the expense of buying a new belt. You can just adjust your tension over there with what looks to be probably a 13 or a 15 mil spanner. So very easy to do. If you need to change a belt, there's an easy reference belt guide over here to do that. Shows you the routing of the belts through the pulleys. You've got a wash port over here to wash the blades when you finish, wash underneath the deck, when you finish using the machine. Just as a note of caution, when doing that, it's a good idea to let the deck cool down, let the pulleys cool down and the bearings before you put any water on this, so you don't get the water sucking into the mandrel housings. The flap has changed as well. For those of you that have noticed it, the main thing is it's obviously a lot bigger flap. The only improvement I would have made on this deck would have been to put a rubber flap on it. Unfortunately, they've still gone with a poly flap over there, or a plastic flap. So if you get that caught against fence lines or posts or trees, you can damage that. So I guess the easy way to do it is to keep the flap up when you mow, or alternatively just be careful when you're mowing. The thing you'll see here on the fabricated cutting deck is the opening on the cutting deck. So before, our fabricated cutting decks used to be at least half that opening, the rest of it was all deck. Now they've actually cut away that whole deck over there. So that gives the deck a much greater ability to clear the grass out, which makes it a much more efficient cutting deck. So having a greater opening on the deck is a big plus on this model. We'll flip it over now and we can have a look underneath. Okay, so as I said to you before, the deck is very, very, very simple. There is no baffles at all on this deck, which makes the grass clearing capabilities much better. So it's a very open deck. You can see the fabrication there, the welding. It's very well welded. They have a protection plate which they've put in around the mandrels, which is a good thing. The mandrels are still alloy, but they are a very heavy duty alloy with a 4-bolt mounting pattern. but it's important that they are very well protected from impact. So that's a new design change, which is a really good design change. It'll stop any impact around those bolt heads and around the mounting points. You'll see the blades on them. If we have a close look at the blades, there's two of them over there. Obviously the blades are offset, so you don't get any striping down the middle of your lawn. But the main thing you'll notice is the flute. So these blades have a very, very large flute on them, very aggressive flute. The reason for that bend in that blade is to throw that grass. So this blade creates a lot of wind speed, which once again assists in clearing that cutting deck. At the back over there, you'll just notice it's got a little triangle welded in there. The reason for that is it's a blade separator, and it circulates the grass between the blades to assist it throwing out over there, throwing out of the side chute. That's why they've got that triangular piece there. So this deck is a much improved fabricated cutting deck than the old one, and I'm sure it's going to lead to much better reviews when cutting long, wet or thick grass. Okay, so talking price on the new model that we've got over here. The current retail on this model is $5,499, so that's $5,499. It's not a very large price increase on the old model. I think it's only a couple of $100, but please visit our website, powerequipmentdiscounters.com.au, or contact one of our stores for a great deal, because we will definitely do a good deal on this ride-on lawnmower for you, and it's a mower you can buy with confidence. If you're looking for that heavy-duty ride-on, roughly 3 to 5 acres of heavy-duty mowing or paddock mowing, then I don't think you can go past the new TS342. It's a very good product. Thanks very much for watching. For more information on the products we sell, don't forget to visit our website, powerequipmentdiscounters.com.au, and to keep abreast of the new videos we upload, don't forget to click subscribe.